everybody, my name is Alex, and today I'm going to be doing an album review. I want to talk about the latest album by J. Cole, and it is titled KOD. J. Cole is a rapper from North Carolina, and this is his fifth album, I believe. Over the years, I've had kind of a mixed relationship with J. Cole's music, and a lot of people that I know have kind of given me flack for this. And while I do think that he is likable, he has relatable stories within his songs, and a lot of the time he does strive to have a positive message throughout his music. I still find him somewhat underwhelming and disappointing a lot of the time. And I have enjoyed J. Cole projects in the past. I enjoy some of his earlier mixtapes, such as The Warm Up and Friday Night Lights. And while by no means did I think that it was a great album, 2014 Forest Hills Drive had quite a few enjoyable tracks on it. But this latest album, KOD, is coming just over a year since his last album, which was For Your Eyes Only, an album that I was not a fan of whatsoever. I thought this album had very bland and unimaginative beats, as well as having kind of a weak concept that didn't tie together in any kind of meaningful way. A lot of the songs on that album kind of seem to not have a whole lot to do with the underlining concept, which makes me glad to say that I do enjoy this new album quite a bit more, but it hasn't necessarily fixed all the problems from For Your Eyes Only. Very similar to his last album, KOD also has a larger underlining concept. This time Cole seems to be exploring the themes of addiction. However, the themes aren't explored on every song, which kind of leads to the album feeling kind of jumbled and messy. The record starts off with the intro, which has a pretty smooth and loungy jazz instrumental, but then there's this robotic female voice that comes in and starts to introduce the themes of addiction for the record. And this robotic voice is featured on a few other tracks throughout the album. Unfortunately, a lot of the time that it's implemented, it comes across as pretty corny, like in the intro where it says something along the lines of, "There are many ways to deal with this pain, choose wisely," which in a way is kind of similar to the "is it wickedness or weakness" theme that we saw on that last Kendrick Lamar album, Damn. Admittedly, the first half of this album is pretty rough. It starts off with the title track, KOD, which has this very bassy, kind of trap-like beat. And the very first verse on this record has absolutely nothing to do with the theme of addiction. It's just kind of your typical, generic, very braggadocious style verse, which then leads us into one of the better hooks on the album. And fortunately, the last verse on this song actually does start to go into these themes of addiction, seeing Cole rap in this more kind of cold, unemotional style voice that I thought came across pretty nicely. We then go to the next song, which is Photograph. This song seems to be all about seeing a picture of somebody online and falling in love with the idea of this person before you even know who they are, which really isn't that bad of a concept, but Cole doesn't really seem to go into that much depth during the verses of this song. And this song also has somewhat of a lumbering and messy chorus, which is one of the many hooks on the record where J. Cole gives us his singing voice. But for some reason, Cole's insistence on singing almost every hook on this record really drags the album down. And it doesn't help that a lot of the hooks on this album are mind-numbingly repetitive. This can be applied to songs such as ATM, Motivate, as well as the song The Cutoff, which honestly is probably one of the best songs on the first half of this record, but this song is weighed down by a pretty questionable chorus, which has the feature of Kill Edward, which for those of you who don't know, I'm pretty sure is just J. Cole with like down-pitched vocals. And it's kind of upsetting because I think this hook could have been pulled off nicely if it had some kind of feature on the album, but we all know that J. Cole refuses to have features on his records nowadays. This Kill Edward feature is very tuneless, it's recorded badly, the effects on the voice just don't match the production on the rest of the track. It just sounds really messy. And the same can be said for the Kill Edward feature on the song Friends, but that one is pulled off a little bit better. Now, aside from a lot of the hooks on this record being incredibly repetitive, during the verses of a lot of these tracks, it seems that J. Cole is repeating certain lines where it doesn't really feel like it's necessary. Take, for example, on the song Photograph, where J. Cole says something along the lines of, "I did not come here to play, and I did not come to observe." But he says it twice, and normally I would look past this if the repetition had something to do with the rhyme scheme of the song, but it seems that a lot of the times the lines are repeated on this album. It's just done as a way to extend the verse a little bit longer or just add some filler. Another one of my biggest gripes on this album is the production. None of the beats here necessarily sound bad, but they're plagued by a lot of the same problems that were on For Your Eyes Only. They're very bland, the mixing is kind of flat. I'm not sure if the record is unpolished or just not mixed all that well, but it seems really noticeable on a lot of these songs. Now that I've harped on the record enough, I actually do want to say that the last half of this album is considerably better than the first half of the album. During the second half, we see J. Cole coming with a more conscious approach, which is something that I think he pulls off a lot better than these more hype style tracks such as KOD and Motivate. Take, for example, the song Brackets, which actually has nothing to do with the themes of addiction on this album, but on this song, I'm willing to look past that because the concept on this song, which is all about taxes of all things, but in a really interesting way. He's questioning where all his taxes go, but he doesn't see his money necessarily being used in the right way, seeing his money going to politicians that are representing ideas and philosophies that Cole doesn't necessarily agree with, and how a lot of the ideas of these politicians are actually a detriment to society. The next song, Friends, sees Cole directly addressing some people in his life, talking about all the excuses of why these people might be going to drugs, whether that be their financial situation or because of depression. The song Once an Addict is probably one of the better songs on the record, which sees him talking about growing up with his mother who had addiction problems of her own, and how he thought that when he moved off and went to college that all these problems would just go away. This is one of those moments on the record where I can say genuinely has a good sense of emotion and meaning. The album ends off on a strong note with the track 1985. In my opinion, this is one of the best songs on the record, as it has no hooks, no BS. It's just a straight 3 to 4 minutes of J. Cole rapping. In this song, he is addressing some of the mumble rappers that are popular today, and he talks about how they're just following a trend and that one day the sound will not be as popular anymore. And I think he approached this song with a lot of maturity, not necessarily making it like a diss track or anything. While there were moments that I enjoyed quite a bit, really the entire last half of the album, but the first half of this album was weighed down by bad singing, repetitive hooks, and a lot of tracks that didn't seem to really play into the theme of the record. For KOD, I'm thinking a 5 out of 10. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. You can go ahead and tell me how wrong I am, and that's okay, because this is just my opinion. I'm Alex, and I'll see you next time.